Hi guys, hi, hello, how's it going? How's everybody doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today, in light of the fact that we just got through the Sephora sale of spring, I thought I'd go through my 2024 Sephora purchases and showcase for you everything that I brought into my collection last year. And last year is the first year in a very long time that I did not qualify for Rouge this year. And I'm doing this to remind myself that I don't need to shop at Sephora. And this will go up after the Sephora sale. So recording it before, it'll go up after. I'm on a no buy, as you guys know. So I need to remind myself of reasons not to shop the sale. And there's that. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I'm a lover of all things high-end, colorful beauty, and self-care, and ultimately, this is my self-care. I like coming to you, talking to you about the good, the bad, the ugly, all things coming into my collection, leaving my collection, and I hope that you're here for it. This isn't the channel for you if you're interested in the brandest, newest thing. It's very rare that I'm going to come to you and talk to you about the brand new thing in the makeup space. I'm just not that kind of channel. I do reviews of things that I do have already in my collection that you might have in your collection. I also do panning and just general makeup chit chat. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, a channel you want to belong to, I implore you, please subscribe before you go. Do all the YouTube-y things because I'm kind of a kick in the pants to hang out with. And with that said, let's roll into this video where I'm going to present to you everything that I bought at the Sephora store last year and still did not make Rouge. So to be fair, probably a lot of the reasons why I didn't make Rouge is because two of the purchases that I made last year were purchases that were done through the Sephora sale. So there was 20% less dollars spent those two times that I purchased than what could have been spent. And you know, they account for that kind of thing. If I had purchased all these things regular price, I think I probably would have made Rouge last year. I only purchased from Sephora if it was items that I could not get at Ulta Beauty. There were a couple things that I purchased from Sephora that also is carried at Ulta Beauty, but not the product that I brought into my collection. That said, I only purchased from Sephora 4 times last year. My first purchase of last year didn't even happen until the first Sephora sale, which was in April. It was April 7th last year that I made my first purchase at Sephora. I also purchased in July, September, and then November, which was the second Sephora sale. And then I waited until the very last day to shop that Sephora sale because I wasn't going to do it. This year, I am also not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it, and I've made up my mind, and that is where we're at, and I'm kicking ass at this no-buy thing, to be honest. So, my first purchase of last year at Sephora was on April 7th. Again, it was during the VIB sale, in which I purchased 2 palettes, 2 fragrance sets, a lip liner, and a blush. We're going to start with the 2 palettes that I purchased. They were these 2. This is the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions 3 palette. This is the all matte neutral palette, and I purchased this one because I kept going back and forth between this one and the Defining Neutrals palette by Danessa Myricks, and I ultimately decided on this one because I didn't have a lot from Patrick Ta. I love his matte formula and was really super excited to get another Patrick Ta palette in my collection. I think I made a mistake with this one. I don't necessarily dislike this palette, but the palette that I was, again, hemming and hawing, debating on which one to pick up instead of this one was the Defining Neutrals. And I think the Defining Neutrals would have been a better bet for the money. It's around the same price. This one is actually more expensive. And you get like warm mattes, cool mattes, and then these 2 cream formulas down here. But the 2 creams are really, really dark. So it's not like you can use them as a base for any of the shadows, right? Because if you use them as a base for any of the shadows, they're darker than the shadows that are going to go on top of them, except for maybe these 2 here. So it's not gonna create the eye look that you need. And as far as eyeliners go, they performed okay, but at the end of the day, they weren't waterproof. They didn't stay where I put them. They kind of wiped away in a very short amount of time, so I wasn't super pleased. In addition to that, when I did do my review on this palette, which I will link the review on all the palettes in here up in the cards for you guys. When I did my review on this palette, I wasn't impressed with its wear time. And I don't know if the first Patrick Ta palette I used had the same issues with wear time, but I feel like these are mattes. They're really pigmented. They're beautiful. They blend easily, mostly blend like a dream. I felt like they should have lasted longer and they just didn't. They faded far too quickly in my humble opinion. I really do not feel like that palette was worth the $70 that I would have purchased for it had I purchased it full time or full price. And then the second palette was the Danessa Myricks Groundwork Blooming Romance palette. It was new at that point in time. She had already had the Defining Neutrals palette out. And this was the, you know, pinks and mauves and red tone version of that. And each one of these pans, there's actually 2 pans in each slot. One is a powder, one is a cream. And I didn't know how I'd feel about it, but I actually quite loved playing with this palette. It was so good. And a little dabble do you of all the things. The creams are emollient in the way that, like, if you put your finger in here just slightly too hard, it's going to go clear to the bottom. So they're really soft, right? But they're also not so soft that they wear away immediately, and they're not so soft that they're unmanageable to work with. I think that they would make a great pomade for like your brows. And I do have some YouTubey friends out here that have used the Defining Neutrals palette on their brows and their hairlines and whatever, and I think that that would be a good place for this. Not that any of these colors really worked with my hairline. This one would right now though. I feel like this one would. My experience with this palette was immensely better than the Patrick Ta palette for whatever reason. I just had a better time. I could put together eye looks differently with that one, and maybe I'm just not a neutral palette girl. The lip liner that I picked up was the Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencil in Wherever Walnut, which is kind of this like red tone brown. And if you look at it, I don't even think that I've put it on my lips. I think that it was in a Shop My Stash at some point right after I purchased it. I do think that I've worn it, but maybe just one time. Maybe just one time. And even then, I'm questioning it because it's still got quite a sharp tip to it. So it's also a lot warmer than I think I anticipated it would be. I guess it could go really well with this lip look that I have on right now. It looks like it could be the lip liner for this lip look, but I think it's a little bit more red than I anticipated it would be. So I have it. I don't think I've worn this. I don't think I've worn it at all. I think it was in my Shop My Stash to wear, but when I did all of my inventory and declutter videos, I took everything out of that Shop My Stash and put it back into my collection so I could do those collection videos. Forgot to make a list and didn't put anything back in the drawer, and I think that it just kind of got missed in transition for me to be able to use it. So this is an example of why I should not be shopping a sale right now, because I have products that I haven't used. The blush that I purchased was the Armani Luminous Silk blush. This was a You Guys Made Me Buy It blush. I had heard so many great things from you guys about this blush. I love the component. I think the component is very luxurious and kind of artistic and different. And the shade that I got is 61 Desire, which is raspberry. It's like a raspberry tone. And I have used this a couple times actually. It was brought into a Shop My Stash and it's actually quite pretty. I love this blush so much. And I love also that it's got like truly got this really beautiful like luminosity to it without being glowy. I mean, I think that you guys can see that, but looking at it head on, it looks matte. It looks like a matte powder, but as I move my hand, it kind of looks like it's got a glow to it, which it doesn't. It's just such a beautiful, healthy looking blush on the cheeks, and I want to pick up more of these. I just don't need to right now. They're such a beautiful blush, and it's actually kind of the perfect size of blush. This is 3.8 grams of product, which I don't think is a bad size for blush, especially when you have giant blushes that last you like 20 years. You know, we know that we're panners out here. We know how long it takes to get through a blush. I have this little tiny blush Gaudette from Ofra that has taken me so far 2 years to get just where it's at right now. So I feel like that's the perfect size of blush, and it's a beautiful blush, and I would purchase more of them. It's such a great blush. And then the last two things that I brought in that haul was the commodity exploration kit that I purchased because of Alexandria Ryan. She talks about commodity gold all the time. And I have to tell you, I went through and spritzed every single one of these so that I could smell them, but I haven't even used them. So again, speaking of things that are driving me to not purchase anything from a Sephora sale right now, this is part of it, right? Because I have things that I haven't even used. The other fragrance kit that I got was this one from Fleur, and I know it looks like it's been used because all of them are out of here, but I pulled them all into my turn and burn when I was doing turn and burn, and they're all right here. I think I've used one of them. This one right here. I should put them back into the Fleur box so I remember to use them, but I don't know that I'll remember to use them even in the box. I'll probably remember them better in there because, I mean, look at the commodity ones. I'm not remembering those either. So those were the things that I purchased in my April 7th purchase. Those were the things that I brought in on a 20% discount in the first Sephora sale of last year. Then I purchased on July 10th. I'm not sure why I purchased on July. Actually, I do know. Just looking at the purchases. My boss and I were visiting stores for the day together, and she met me for lunch at one store, and then we went into the Sephora before we went into our store to do a visit, and we purchased some things. So every time I am with her, we shop, and then I purchase things. We're no good for each other. And I say that for reasons. We purchase things that we don't need to purchase, but then also when I was with her, I was like, I am not buying any blushes because I think I had put myself on a quasi blush low buy last year, and all I bought was 3 blushes. And of those 3 blushes, 2 of them I've decluttered since I purchased them. I decluttered them last year in the declutters. She loves them. Good for her. I do not. So on July 10th, we went into a Sephora in-store, and I purchased one of the Kosas blushes live in Dreamland, and I really like this blush. I think it is beautiful, but I also think it's maybe not any different than a lot of other blushes that I already have in my collection. It's just a really pale peachy color. It is a beautiful blush. It is also a luminous blush, so I really like that it's got like that luminosity to it. It makes your skin just look alive without having the like glitter to it. It's a baked blush, and I really like baked products because I feel like they're a little bit more smooth and forgiving to texture, and they don't like really necessarily just lay on your skin. But I feel like there's a lot of products these days that are better whether they're baked or not than, you know, blushes that used to just kind of sit on your skin. And then I bought 2 of the Rare Beauty Soft Pinch Luminous blushes, one in Hope and one in Cheer. I decluttered those because those are not blushes. Those are highlights, and I'll prove it to you in just one second. Those were a mistake. My boss loves hers. She bought the same 2, I believe. She loves hers. This was totally a peer pressure moment because I didn't want those blushes. And then she was playing with them, and she's like, oh my gosh, these are so beautiful. And I was like, you're right, I need to buy some. I have no willpower. So I bought them. I did not like them. I put them into a Shop My Stash almost immediately. I didn't love them. So the one that I still have, and I would put this up on Poshmark or Mercari, but I know that it's going to arrive to whoever it arrives to shattered, because every single time you hear about somebody purchasing one of these that had it sent to them, it's shattered. Because this is nearly new. I think I wore it maybe twice before I decided it was not for me. These are highlights. These are not blushes, and I do not need an orange highlight in my collection. I just don't need an orange highlight. The other one I gave to my niece, so she has that one. She didn't take this one though. I don't know why. That one is also pretty if that's what you're looking for, but I don't need any more highlights in my collection. I did buy it for the blush aspect of it, and because it's not a blush, I was just like, I'm not going to put this into my highlights and try and use it as a highlight. It's got that orange backing to it, which I feel is too deep for me to use as a highlight. Yes, I could use it as a blush topper, but I don't really do that, so it doesn't make any sense for me to keep it in my collection. So I did declutter both of those. So of that July 10th purchase, I only actually kept one of those items in my collection, so it really wasn't worth me spending that. But all three of those were not purchased on a sale. Those were purchases. I do think that I had a coupon, you know, from my credit card coupon or something, if I remember correctly. But even if not, those were an actual purchase. So in September, that was my next purchase. So we went from July to September. That was my next purchase on September 14th. And on that day, I bought two items. I bought the Danessa Myricks Defining Neutrals palette, and I bought the Armani Luminous Silk Bronzer. And these are two things that I bought for myself for my birthday because I had a gift card from my daughter. So I purchased these two things on that gift card. And I purchased the Defining Neutrals because I was so disappointed with the Patrick Ta palette and really liked the Danessa Myricks one better. And this is what this one looks like. This is actually what is on my eyes today, minus of course the shimmer, which is a different Danessa Myricks palette. But these are really quite nice. I mean, just like the Blooming Romance palette, I feel the same way. The pomades are a little bit more conducive, however, to, you know, all over face makeup than those ones were. Those ones would have been good for, you know, maybe a blush. The one red for a hairline, depending on your hairline. But these ones you could use as your brow product, you could use as your hairline, you could use as a contour, you could use as a bronzer. There's even kind of a red toned brown that you could use as a really red toned brown blush if you want to, or an orange one for a kind of peachy blush if you wanted to. That peachy color is what is in my eyes today, and it is the pomade. This brown here is a mixture of this brown and this brown. So I have all three of these colors in pomade form in my eye look today, and I think that it is pretty. And I did not put powder over these today. I was so disappointed with the Patrick Ta one that I ended up getting this palette anyway, so it should have just been the first one that I purchased. And then the Armani Luminous Silk Bronzer I did purchase because I fell in love with the Armani Luminous Silk blush, and this is what it looks like. It is a giant bronzer. There's a ton of product in here. There's 18 grams of product in here. This is gonna last me a lifetime. I feel like this bronzer is also a beautiful bronzer. I do feel like it's maybe a little bit orange, and I do feel like this is a little bit more glowy than I like for my bronzers, but I feel like this is a really great summer bronzer. When I brought it into my collection, we were in fall, so I remember seeing after the Shop My Stash that this was in, that I felt like it would be a good bronzer for summer, so I will likely bring it into my summertime Shop My Stash, because I feel like it didn't get a fair chance because I wasn't tan. I was super pale, and it wasn't bronzer season. It wasn't like shiny Edward Cullen Sparkly like bronzer season, right? When I first started trying it. So we're going to try it then. It wasn't my favorite bronzer, but it was a good bronzer. November 11th was my next purchase. So we went from September 14th clear to November 11th, which was the absolute last day of the fall Sephora VIB sale. And I was in this place where I'm like, I do have a lot of things that I want to purchase, but I needed to spend so much money in order to be Rouge that I was just like, I'm not going to purchase anything because it doesn't make any sense for me to purchase anything, which is why I waited until the very last day. And then my fellow creators got the best of me because, and I shouldn't say my fellow creators, it was my fault, right? I'm watching all of the Sephora hauls and I'm like, I need that. I also need that. And then I started thinking, because I had watched so many khaki videos at that point in time that she was doing, I watched a khaki video on Westman Atelier. I think I watched two, honestly. I watched a Martina Lily Westman Atelier video that had just popped up into my feed. I don't even know if they were recent videos, if I'm honest with you. But that also was like, I need Westman Atelier in my collection. I know myself better. And I say that because Westman Atelier is very much a no makeup kind of brand. Am I sad about it? No, because I do love the makeup, but I also just kind of need more because that's how I operate. But that said, the first thing on my list was the Kosas Cloud Set Powder in Candy, which had just come out. This is currently in my Shop My Stash. It is what I have on under my eyes today. I feel like it does a really good job of brightening. I feel like it does a really good job of blurring. I have the Huda Beauty Cherry Blossom loose powder. I have the Pat McGrath under eye brightening powder that is in light. I also have medium that I wear all over my face. And then I have this one that is specifically for my under eyes. That is what I specifically use for my under eyes. Do I think this is better than Cherry Blossom? Probably not. I would say no. Cherry Blossom has a lot more pink pigment to it. So I think that it brightens a lot more. It also just kind of blends a lot better into the blush that you're maybe moving it into, right? However, I like a pressed powder better than I like a loose powder. However, I have heard that those powders that she has loose are not the same in their pressed version. So I have not tried the pressed version of hers. This is the runner-up, I would say, to the Huda powder. Huda is much better than this, but I do like this powder, so I am not sad that I purchased this. I also purchased I think that had just come out recently. I also purchased the Huda Easy Blur Primer. I didn't buy the foundation because I had heard that foundation was really, really full coverage. I'm just not a full coverage girl, but I did want to try the primer, and I did, and I like it. I like it quite a bit. It is sticky while also not being like Blur Jam sticky, and it is silicone-y feeling without being slippy. It's just really such a beautiful primer that really does make your skin look blurred and airbrushed, and I like it a lot. I think because it doesn't have silicone in it, I don't find that it pills on my skin with certain foundations like other smoothing primers do. So I really do like this primer. I think it's a really great primer. I also bought the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech Concealer Corrector in Fair. Mine is in 04 Fair. And I love this concealer. I purchased it because I had tried a sample of it in my Turn and Burn and really fell in love with it. And I really do like this concealer. I think it's honestly pretty lightweight while also having a ton of coverage. And it just has that like 4 good for your skin, like property value to it, right? It doesn't have any creasiness. I feel like it is just lightweight, but also full coverage, and it works perfectly on my under eyes. It's not what I've got on my under eyes today, but I am wearing a concealer in this list. This, which is a Merit lipstick in the shade Beatty, and this was totally a YouTuber made me buy it moment. I don't like lips. My lips are my least favorite part of makeup application, least favorite part of doing they're the least of my worries, honestly. They're not something that I look at, but for whatever reason, lipsticks call my name always to purchase, especially when I see another YouTuber bringing them in and raving about how wonderful the lipstick is, because I'm still trying to find that perfect lipstick that I think is amazing, even though I know, like, I love the Charlotte Tilbury formula, I love the Dior formula, I love Natasha's formula. I also love the Merit formula. I mean, I'm not going to be a liar here. This is such a smooth, beautiful lipstick, and it is also a beautiful, like, pinky brown color. It reminds me a little bit of Pillow Talk by Charlotte, but I think it's a little less pink than Pillow Talk is. So, really comfortable lip gloss or lipstick. And then the last thing I purchased, besides all the Westman Atelier stuff that I purchased, which I'll get to in a second, is this, which is the Clarins lip oil in black. And I purchased it because it's black, because it has this like checkerboard print on the bottle, and because it's black, it gives your lips kind of this like purple tint to it. And I think that you all know that I've got this like purple fascination lately. It is nothing like this lip oil. I feel like they're two different formulas. I feel like one is so much more thick than the other, and I feel like I have to reapply it more than I have to reapply this one, and I feel like it dries out my lips. This one does not. This one would never. It's also got glitter in it, which I don't think I knew when I first decided to pick it up. I don't feel like you can feel the glitter necessarily, but there are moments where it does feel a little bit gritty on my lips, and I'm like, is that the glitter? Or what is that? This also came to me half empty already. Not half empty, but it's here, which I understand they have to leave a little bit of a space. But when I received this one, and this one I've been using for quite some time, this one has seen far more usage out of it and is sitting in the same place as this one did when it first arrived to me. So I was kind of skeeved out also because I said something about it in a video and one of my friends down in the comment section, one of you guys down in the comment section was like, well, maybe they accidentally sent you a returned one. It makes me want to vomit. Like, who used it before me? I forgot about this because it was just sitting there and I thought, well, I just used that. But this is the other thing that I purchased that wasn't Westman Atelier, and that is this one size sponge. I just love, it's a dirty sponge because I used it today, but I just love the shape of this sponge, and I'm so happy I purchased this. I probably won't purchase another one. Honestly, it was $19 and I refuse to spend that much on a sponge. There's really no need, but it's so big. It's got this like triangular shape, but you would think it comes down to like a really thin, nice point here, but it's just got this kind of like infinity symbol, like mindset to it all the way through. And it's just so easy to use. And even though this doesn't get like super pointed, right, it's still really easy to get into the nooks and crannies and crevices that you need to get around in your face. So I really love that sponge. I feel like it's made of a material too that doesn't necessarily soak in all of your product. So it's not a sponge that you're going to use that's going to be detrimental to your supply of cosmetics. Everything else I purchased was from Westman Atelier. So first and foremost, I purchased a set that came with a blush, a highlighter, and a mascara. The mascara has been open since I purchased in November. And I just threw it into my empties because it's just getting to the point where it's so dry that it's flaking, and the scent of it is driving my eyeballs bonkers. When it was new, the scent didn't bother me. It didn't linger nearly as much as it has been lingering since it dried out. That said, I don't necessarily think this is the most amazing mascara anyways. It was a mascara that I really did have to doctor and put with other mascaras that would provide me length. It did a lot for like volume down at the base, but I don't think it did a lot for volume out in the upper parts of the lashes. I also felt like it just kind of clumped my lashes together. So I would have to take out like my eyelash separator. I'd have to take out another mascara to get the length that I needed. It wasn't the best. I'm just going to say it's probably not something I'd ever purchase again from Westman Atelier. The highlight that I got is the shade Lit Up. And it's kind of a pinky iridescent highlight. I feel like it maybe is just a slight bit dark for me because it does have a little bit of a like almost brown base to it. I do think that it works well with some makeup looks that I do, but it's not one that I can wear all the time. It is pretty. I do think that it's kind of got this like almost pink to blue look to it. I don't know. It's very rosy, like brown rosy. The blush that I got is called Bubble, and it is like this really pretty, like pinky gold look to it. It is interesting. It is an interesting and beautiful blush. I just feel like I can only wear it in certain circumstances because it is very pigmented and it leans a little bit more purple. And even though I have this purple affinity, purple blushes just don't look good on my skin. It reminds me a lot of the Rare Beauty ones though that I got rid of, because it also, if this base was any lighter, this would be a highlight, not a blush. But I like it. I'll keep it around. And it's in my Shop My Stash currently. Have I worn it? No. Because it intimidates me. Again, it's a purple blush and it doesn't really look all that great on my skin. I also purchased, these are, from what I understand, minis, because I also purchased a contour mini. And I purchased a mini because I just don't feel like you need to have a full size in any of these things. This is the shade Biscuit, and it is a beautiful contour. It is truly the best, like taupey gray toned contour for my skin tone. I think it's pretty perfect for my skin tone. So I'm really happy to have that. And I do have a video where I'm trying out all of these things that I'll also link in the cards for you guys. Not all of these things, but all of the, most all of the Sephora purchases from this Westman Atelier purchase. So the November 11th purchase. I also purchased a foundation and a concealer. So this is their Vital Skin foundation stick, and mine is in the shade Atelier 2. This is actually what is on my face today, and I really do love this foundation. As far as foundation sticks go, I will tell you, I don't love very many of them because they are kind of thick, right? But this one thins out really, really well without looking super cakey. And I didn't thin it out as much as I would so that you guys could like really see the color of it, but the luminosity of my skin under this foundation, it feels like it's doing my skin favors versus not. And I feel like that's what her brand is all about, is doing your skin favors while also creating like a canvas that that you can play on with her makeup. The concealer that I got, I think, could be potentially the wrong color. I got it in the color Atelier L2, so light 2. I maybe could have went with L1. This is the shade of it. I just feel like it's maybe just a little bit too yellow toned for me. When I feel like this one is perfect for brightening. I guess, you know, this one is perfect for like maybe under eyes, whereas the, let's see the difference, that's crazy, right? The Westman Atelier one I feel like is better for like face. Not that I wouldn't use it on my under eyes, because I definitely feel like you could use it on your under eyes, and that is where I am wearing it today. I just have like that pink powder over the top of it because I don't think it would work without a lightening powder over the top of it. It definitely wouldn't work with no powder, which is how I wear my makeup most of the time. I think I could have got a lighter version of this. It works. It just doesn't always work, and it's not always great for the under eyes. One thing I would say about this is it really does not take any time at all to dry down. So if you're going to use this, you're going to want to do one section of your face at a time. A lot of the times we'll like wait, you know, 5-10 minutes. We'll like put the concealer on our under eyes and then go in and do our brows. I don't think that you have that kind of time. I don't think that you have that kind of time with that Westman Atelier concealer. It is really full coverage. I feel like it does a really good job. I don't feel like it gets into the creases under your eyes, and I have like really crepey eyelids, and I always have specifically problems with this eye because it's got a little bit more of a under eye bag, right, than my other eye does. This eye has got so many problems, and sometimes my like concealer will cake up in like the fold where it's a little bit more crepey than anywhere else, and I don't feel like this concealer does that at all. So really happy to have that concealer in my life as well, and it's really full coverage. I think it does a really good job. So that being said, those are the purchases that I made at Sephora last year. I think I picked up really good things, even though I've not tried any of the fragrances except for the one. I did just buy 2 like discovery kits, so I'm glad it's not just a giant $100 and something bottle of fragrance that I haven't touched, right? I did get a bunch of little tiny vials. I'm still disappointed because I think between the 2 of them it was like $80 worth of that order minus the 20% off because it was purchased in a Sephora sale, but it was still expensive, right, for those like trial kits. So, but probably about half the price of one bottle, or about a third of the price of one, 2/3 of the price of one bottle, right? So at least I didn't buy a giant bottle and not use it. I am disappointed that I have not tried this because I was super excited to get one of these into my collection. I just feel like I maybe saw the color in person and was like, wow, that's a lot red, and it kind of intimidated me a lot, but I'm making it a point to put it into my next Shop My Stash so I do get some use out of it. But everything else was used. So everything else has been used. Every single one of these palettes is part of a palette review, palette review series video, except for the Defining Neutrals, which is currently in use. Ow, I just whacked myself with this. Which is currently in use in my review series, right? It's in my current review process. So I will link those videos. Any video that I have that is in regards to these, I will get linked for you either in the eye or down below. And I will try and link all these products as well. I do think that I linked them in the initial Sephora, the initial haul video for that month, my makeup rehab for that month, so it'll be really easy for me just to cut and paste. But some of them you can't get anymore, right? Because this was part of like a holiday kit. So that said, what did you guys buy at Sephora last year? I'd be interested to hear from you. What did you buy at the Sephora sale this year? Because only time will tell But I'm on a no buy. So my plan is to buy 0 things at the Sephora sale this year. Last year, I went from being Rouge to being VIB, and I was totally okay with that. This year, if I do stand by I'm not purchasing anything. And even if I don't spend $400 at Sephora, which I don't think that I will, I'll just be an insider. That seems very crazy to me because I've been Rouge for so long. That's another thing that is driving my don't purchase anything from the Sephora sale, because it's only 15% off for me right now, not 20, and 15% off is just tax, to be honest. So there's that. Or shipping. So there's that. Let me know what you guys purchased. Let me know what you think of the items I purchased. I'd be interested to hear from you down in the comments on what you're purchasing this year, and or what you did purchase this year because you're seeing this after the Sephora sale. And thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that you and yours are well. I hope that you are all safe and healthy and getting along as best that you can. I hope that you are all loving each other, being kind humans, and living your best life. And until next time, bye friends.